Good day everyone, GarageKing here, and today we have an 8th generation Honda Civic, so they're made from about 2005 to 2012 I guess. We're just going to do the front brakes on this Honda Civic, and actually you'll see we're going to have some problems, but we're going to get through it. Anyway, so first things first, let's rinse it off, get rid of all the dust. We don't want to be breathing any particles. You can see this caliper is really rusted, just a rusted up caliper. But anyway, let's take it off. So let's give you another view. So from behind, we can see factory has 14 millimeter bolts on the top of the caliper and 17 millimeter bolts to hold the bracket. Now this particular vehicle had 12 millimeter, and you can see I'm struggling in there a little bit. And the reason is, I guess someone had already replaced them. This is probably, it's an older vehicle, so the caliper's been changed or whatever. So anyway, not a big deal. But for the factory, it's 14 mil bolts on the top and 17 mil bolts for the big bolts to hold the bracket on. Now this person was also complaining about noise when braking. So this could definitely be the cause of the noise. You can see there, that surface, how rough it is. So it could definitely cause the brake pad to make a noise. And also, if you look here, we got very uneven wear. I'll throw up some arrows here and look at the difference in the pad thickness. So we got some uneven wear. But now when I'm checking out the pins here, you can see I'm moving them, and the pins are actually, they're okay. I can move them. So I'm not too worried about the pins, but what I may be a little bit worried with is the caliper. So I guess the next logical thing to do would be to go over and check the caliper. So you can see we have the caliper here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my tool and check the resistance when winding the piston back in.
And this one doesn't seem to be too bad. You know what? So we may be okay with this side. Well, and actually now it's getting tight right when I almost bottom here. It's actually starting to get quite tight.
So a tight piston is not a good one, so this caliper needs to be replaced, everyone. In addition, we're going to throw new rotors on to get rid of that groove. But if you're not replacing your calipers, take a look at the top. You can see there's a link for the tool. That is the best tool that I have found on the market for cleaning the calipers where your pads slide. So check that out if you want. Links will be below. Now back to the rotor. So we have two Phillips bolts. You can see here I'm taking them out with my impact.
And now I should just be able to pull the rotor off. Here we go. So we're just pulling it off, and actually you can see
there's what I was talking about. There is that surface, and you know what's strange? It's not the whole surface it's bad. It's almost like just like a ring. And you can't machine this out. That is just it's too much in there. And the problem too is once you machine these rotors, they get thinner, and it's like a hot pan in the oven. They just warp and they cause problems later. So anyway, with the cost of rotors, it's best to just replace it.
we can see these two angled pieces divots, whatever you want to call them. Those have to line up with these holes right here. Just like that. And these don't have to be that tight. You just snug them up. There we go, just like so, just sort of snugged up, that's perfect.
So the next step is to put some anti-squeal on the pads. You definitely don't want to be having noisy brake pads. Nothing worse than, 6 o'clock in the morning. You're rolling out of the driveway and you have noisy, squeaky pads waking up the neighborhood, so you don't want that. Nice, easy thing to do right now. It's a lot harder if you want to do it later, because then you got to take your caliper back off. So it's a lot easy just to, do it when you're doing the brake job. It's just good practice. So next things next, we're going to put in our 17 mil bolts, grab our ratchet, and we're going to torque those down.
And there we go, we got our pads and our caliper bracket in. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to change the actual caliper. We're just going to undo the bolt. It's a 14 mil bolt, and you will see a little bit of fluid is going to come out. Now you can just wrench it out. Now it is tight, so if you don't have an impact gun like I do, it's best to loosen it before you disassemble it, and then just kind of snug it up a bit, just so it's not dripping the whole time that you're working on your brakes. But because I have an impact gun, it's easy for me to just take it off with the gun, and then I can put it on by hand.
And that's about all there is to it. So now when you're taking out the bolt, just be careful. You're gonna have a washer on each side. So you can see here, there's one washer on that side. And then once I pull off the brake hose, you're gonna see there is a washer on the other side, right there. Now, we have our new caliper here, so we're gonna have to make sure we have a washer on each side. Now, it is good practice to use brand new washers. You can use new copper washers, but you know what? If you're in a jam and you really don't have any, I've reused washers before. Please don't flame me. I've done it before and I've never had an issue. So anyway, but best practice is to replace it. So please replace it, especially if you don't have a lot of experience with brake jobs. Now, anyway, moving on, you can see here, the brake line is not fitting into the rebuilt caliper. There's a quick screenshot. You can see it's just not straight. I'll give you a better angle here because this happens sometimes. So I wanted to share this with you all. So anyway, you can see there, the brake line, the steel part is either too big because it's rusted, so it's expanded a little bit, or when they rebuilt the caliper, maybe they bent it or something like that. So we're gonna have to fix that. Whatever you do, if yours does not fit in, so it's 100% straight and it should go down very easy, then you have to fix it. Now, what I'm doing here is I have my little cutoff wheel here, and I'm just gonna be careful, and all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna widen it a little bit where that goes. Now you can see there I have a rag over there over the hole for the caliper, so this way nothing gets in there because we don't want any of those small metal particles going in there. Now I know what some of you are going to say, what if some of them were really sneaky, these little particles, and they were able to get inside? Well, you know what, we can use a little bit of brake clean, compressed air. If you don't have compressed air, that's fine. Brake clean evaporates very quickly, and this way you won't have any issues.
And we can see it's right in there, nice, so it's better. We'll move these so they're straight. Now let's put our bolts in, just 1, 2, 14 mil bolts. We don't have to tighten them right up now. It's just to hold the caliper, so I'll be able to tighten up the brake hose. I'm doing the bottom one. And all this is for is it's just to hold this, just so I can get a wrench on and turn it. There we go.
Next up is just to put the caliper bolts in, and I recommend putting them in by hand. This way you can tell if they're cross-threading. I mean, I take things out with power tools, but it's always best to put things in by hand. Now, don't forget to top up your brake fluid, and once you do that, I'll show you how to bleed the caliper.
Okay, push down as hard as you can. There we go. Take your foot off. Push down again as hard as you can. Take your foot off. Push down as hard as you can. Take your foot off.
So once you've bled the brakes well, all you have to do is tighten up the bleeder valve, and you know what, not that tight. And here is the most important step coming up. Please, everybody, if ever you replace a caliper, do this. Check for leaks. So while the vehicle is running, have someone push on the brake as hard as they can, because that'll exert a lot of force and a lot of hydraulic pressure. And if you have a leak, it is going to show. All right, so we're in the home stretch, and it's just a little trick I want to share with you guys when you're topping up your brake fluid. Now, I should have showed this before, not after, but a couple of people have emailed me and asked me when is an appropriate time to change their brake fluid, and I say get one of these pens. This pen will tell you. Now here, obviously it's green. The fluid is good because we just changed a bunch of it. We just flushed it when we bled the calipers. But some people say, you know, when should you do it? And it really depends on a lot of factors. I say the easiest thing to do is get one of these pens, because then you won't waste money and you don't have to change it before you actually have to change it. So anyway, that is it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will hopefully see you next week. Thanks, everyone.